Hey Linwell Met friends, Andang here for a quick news chat about Asheron's Call and its plans of being moved to free to play or completely free and put into maintenance mode and how it affects LOTRO. And joining me to do that we have Athelros,
Hello.
Braxwolf,
Hello, everybody.
and Draculetta.
Hey everyone.
So, Athelros, you are the one that pointed out the Massively article that kind of pointed us all to this news. So, if you want to go ahead and start talking about that a little bit.
Yes, just browsing massively there. Justin Olivetti posted this article. It's commenting on the developer post that was on the Asheron's Call forums relating to the update they're having in the coming days now. And towards the end of it, they also make a pretty big announcement that Asheron's Call, which is Turbine's first MMO, if I remember right, and their own IP, is basically having limited updates from this point or from that point onward, mostly relating to bug fixes, general maintenance support, that sort of thing. So, as far as it concerns major MMO players, it's being put on maintenance mode. Additionally, they in the long term they'll be looking to add this game and its sequel, Asheron's Call 2, to completely free to all active players of those games. That is free, not free to play, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. And how do we think that this will affect LOTRO? Will it be a good thing, or is this a sign of things to come moving forward? Um, Thalros, why don't you go ahead and get started on that?
Well, then is the obvious point you can make that with this, they're not devoting as many resources to this game, so they'll be distributing those presumably to their other games, most likely to Infinite Crisis, but still. I think the more interesting point to me at least is that obviously they actually have the will, the desire to actually do this. I mean, how many MMO companies can you think of that actually have done this sort of thing where if they're ending a game, they just instead of just closing it and it's gone. Trying to think of the MMOs that happened to. Obviously, SWG was one, but a whole bunch of other ones that have just disappeared off the map. This, they're just gently putting it down and letting players continue to play it for free. Who've the ones who've played actually playing it at the time, and then later on, entertaining the possibility of allowing players to add or to have their own private servers. Obviously, that's a very complicated thing to do, so they would have to actually find people experienced enough and willing to do it. But the fact that they would even encourage this to begin with, or actually going down that route at all, is very good news to me.
Yeah, it is good news, because this is the first time Turbine has actually closed down one of their MMOs, I believe, obviously, because they've had them all active for so long, because Asheron's Call was in 1999 when it came out, as the Massively article points out. And it's good to see that this is kind of their policy, hopefully, their policy of what things will happen moving forward. That being said, this is their IP, so they might have more power over it. Do we think that let's say when Lotro shuts down in hopefully 2050, do we think that um, Turbine will be able to do this with Lotro?
It's the IP thing, really. It's just will that Tolkien estate, Middle Earth Enterprise, etc. Be would they let them do it? I think that this shows that on Turbine's side they would act. I think even more so with Lotro than Asheron's Call because of how popular the IP is. They would actually want to do it. It's really on the other side of whether the uh, people who give them the license and all that would allow it. I'm not sure whether they would is the question.
Yeah, that's the main question, and I think that it's definitely worth talking about. Draculetta, what do you think of this news?
Um, I don't think it's really a big shock to anybody, with the layoffs, and this is one of their older games, and somehow I don't, I'm not saying anything. I haven't personally played the game, so I'm not saying anything on the game, but I don't think it's one of their more popular games. So I would say, in a business standpoint, this makes sense to do this with this, and maybe, like you had said there, they might be testing the waters, maybe to see how well this goes over, and then if something would happen with, say, DDO and LOTRO, possibly they could use what they learned from doing, Asheron's Call this way, and translate it into those two games.
Yeah, and Brax, what do you think of the news?
Well, I guess there's two ways you could look at it. There's the way that Ethelros described, which is this could be a good thing for LOTRO, because what we heard when the layoffs occurred was that WB said we need to focus our turbine staff, on more strategic projects. I don't know what the exact wording, but it was something along those lines. So you start to think, well, maybe as the chips start to fall, maybe as long as LOTRO isn't one of those chips, maybe it's one of the strategic games for Turbine to continue to focus on. The other way you could look at it is they're testing out a template here with Asheron's Call, and they're going to see what it takes and how to put a game into maintenance mode, and that they're going to continue to do this for the rest of their non-strategic games, and we don't know if that's all of their MMOs, so that they can focus on things like Infinite Crisis and anything else new that's coming out, their secret projects or whatever. Or just which side of the fence does LOTRO fall on, I think, is really the big question still. But the more chips that fall, like I said, the more games that go into maintenance mode that aren't LOTRO, I think the better the odds are of Lord of the Rings being around. Personally, I don't think they want to give up on that IP yet. I don't think they want to give up on having a Lord of the Rings presence in an MMO style yet. I think they're still making good money. They're still seeing people log into the game, and I think they want to continue. WB, I'm talking about, wants to continue to have as much exposure out there for advertising exposure for their Lord of the Rings IP that they own.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Theros, you also pointed out from the forums some of the stuff that came out there, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's a more elaborate post. It's massively cut down for people who might not be completely in the loop. There is obviously some discussions of stuff coming in that update, which, from what people have said in the comments, is a fair amount for a game they sold. But towards the end of the post, they talk about some other things too. You can kind of clearly tell that how much they actually care about this. I mean, this is, again, their IP, their only IP they actually own, so it's theirs more than any other game they are currently running. And they more like mostly the last paragraph they talk about is looking into trying to find people who would have the skills and experience able to actually have a private run service.
And that's what kind of surprised me out of this whole thing is, they're going to actually encourage and allow players to do that.
Yeah, I mean, how many, MMO developers actually let that happen? They're probably
Are there
on
any?
one hand, yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, there is, emulators and player run servers for games, but they're not officially endorsed
Yeah, I
that I
don't
can
think
think
that there's
of.
ever been an officially
Yeah.
endorsed server like that, which is really surprising actually. And people had been giving Turbine a little bit of flack about, they've not been open enough and stuff like that. But like this is a very open move, and I think while yeah, their communication isn't very good, this is really surprising that they're willing to do this type of thing. Here's a question. Would you guys be willing to play on a server that's not hosted by Turbine? Would you trust it?
if it was LOTRO, I would give it a try because I just love the world that much. It's that well designed. You can just, it feels like Middle Earth. You would want to keep going there,
All right, Brax.
provided it's not, run by a.
I think so. It kind of depends on where it's being hosted, I guess, and how much I knew about that place. I mean, if I guess I'm not sure about the details for what they said in the article about how are they going to determine? Were they going to open source the code, or how are they going to do that?
Yeah.
They didn't really say, but that would be my assumption. Is they're going to allow the code, and then I wouldn't think players would be able to change any of the code, but they would allow the server technology. And I would assume you would need a Linux box to host it, probably. I can't
Yeah,
see being able to do it
a
on just a Windows machine.
there was a follow-up developer comment saying that releasing the source code is not necessary and is definitely not in our plan. So they won't be releasing the source code, but I think it's more like what you said. They will give them some of the tools needed to actually just support a server rather than mess around with it too much.
Yeah, I guess if it was the pvmp underscore andang lotro server, I might log into that.
All right, but you have to pay me money so I can actually host that kind of thing. Because I assume it's a fairly expensive thing to host a private server, wouldn't it? I mean, it would depend on how many players are on it and that sort
Yeah,
of
I
thing.
would
But
say it would definitely depend on your user base.
But you know how passionate some of these people can be with the games, especially ones that have been sunsetted. I wouldn't be surprised to find more than one that's willing to go through with it, no matter what the cost might be.
yeah, but I mean, if it's more than like $1,000 a year, I don't know if I mean, I would be out of the market at that point, for sure. Because I mean, that's you'd think that the turbine point sales are bad right now, but hosting your own server is a whole nother thing.
Obviously, I mean that's maybe we are getting slightly ahead of ourselves in because obviously, as we were talking about earlier, it's fairly unprecedented for a company supported uh, player-run MMO in that sense. It will be quite challenging, I would imagine, just to get the logistics and mechanics and all that stuff sorted out. But if they could, it would be, it would put them on the map as being a company that actually genuinely wants the players to be happy with the MMO they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been playing their MMO for, 15 years, I guess at this point, you would hope that, they're, those loyal players that you would actually try to continue to support them by allowing to do that. But let's say Turbine says, all right, this is a good server. Even if Turbine says it's a good server, how do you know? I mean, there's because of the way people are, I don't know if I would trust them even if it was like official Turbine supported. This player's gone through these various things and now they're able to do this. I still don't know if I would trust them.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
imagine. Sorry.
We are kind of. I think Eltharos, you're right. We're getting ahead of ourselves on the Lotro thing because I imagine they're going to go at least until the contract extension on the IP is up, hosting it, and by that time they'll know whether this has worked with Asheron's call or not.
Yeah, and that's still 3 years out. Possibly, a little bit more than that depending on what time of the year it is. So,
They did say regarding this game at least, and obviously Asheron's Call too, they will be looking to making at least the free part coming in towards the end of this year, and then we would possibly hear more about this when we come towards that. But if they could get this to work, it would be a great start, and it would hopefully encourage more developers to do this.
yeah, this is definitely something I'd want to see. I wonder how hard it would be to not have, say, like a server run, but have basically a single player downloadable client. How much work would you think that would take to transform that?
I mean, my completely uneducated opinion would say it would be less than a player-run actual server. But I mean, thinking for LOTRO at least, there's all the mobs and uh, vendors and all that stuff. It's a lot of different parts that you would need, and I'm not sure that many computers could handle all that just for you.
Yeah, but I think that, I'm still surprised that, I mean, maybe it is a whole lot of work, but I'm surprised that when MMOs do, go out of the hands of their developers, whether being closed down or, players host their own servers or whatever, I'm surprised that more companies don't try to, like, make a single player box copy for like $10 or something like that and just try to sell that. Um, wouldn't that
Mm.
make more sense? I would
I
think.
would I would totally buy into a single player Lotro just to be able to go around there and maybe have them mobs and stuff. I could just come back to and revel in the landscape and the story and everything.
Yeah, I
That would be
mean,
great.
even if they, didn't change a thing and left it exactly like it was, aside from like a few optimizing things and things like that, I would still play it even if there was like those group things that I couldn't do in the game anymore. I would be fine if they were there and I'd just ignore that, I wouldn't need them to take it out of the game for me
I
to be
think
able to enjoy it.
I think a lot of people might do that with Lord of the Rings. I don't know that a lot of other MMOs would attract people to do that. I mean, the whole idea between being massively and multiplayer is that there's other players around you doing things. So I'm not sure that that would appeal to a lot of MMO players outside of those who are just really into the Middle Earth environment.
Mm. I mean, at least with the benefit of Lotro, they wouldn't have to change the name because it would still be Lotro. Just be Lord of the Rings offline instead.
That's like the CSTM rename. It keeps the same initials, but
It's cheaper.
that's right. All right, well, I think we had a good discussion here, unless anybody else has anything left to add.
Just that. I mean, it's just nice to see. It just makes you feel good, just knowing that people in a company care that much about the game, what they're making, that they would be willing to even try and just. I mean, they may not succeed. This might just come down to nothing, but the fact that they're even trying at all, it makes you feel good in a way.
Yeah, and especially the fact that it's, they're moving it to be completely free, and they're moving, Asheron's Call 2 to be completely free, and it seems like that they're going to be still supporting that on their side of things, so it'll be
Well,
interesting. Go ahead.
just the way I read it, it's only going to be free for current players.
Right, so I guess you had to have paid them before.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're currently playing the game, then it's free for you. I'm not sure how they would handle people who aren't currently doing it, but
Well, you buy a lifetime subscription to Asheron's Call, and then you can get. No, I don't know, but yeah,
But still, that's just, amazing that they're doing that. I mean, because, the alternative is they could just shut it down completely. So, like you said, it's really good to see at least the developers care enough about their game and their product that they're like, we want to continue this, be it might be in a little bit different form. The game is still going to live on.
yeah, yeah, it definitely definitely brings a smile to my face. All right. Well, on that note, I think we are going to end this here. So thank you guys so much for watching our discussion about how this might affect LOTRO, and uh, hopefully it'll affect it in a positive way, where Turbine will have more resources to devote to their existing products. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you for LOTRO Players News and LOTRO Players Adventures this Saturday. And until then, take care and have fun.